When selling a home, who pays the closing costs? Well, this isn't a simple question to answer because it's often based on regional customs or regional norms, what is determined to be acceptable in that particular area. And I think that has to do in part by, the price range of homes. The higher a price range of homes, the more closing costs the seller is willing to absorb versus if you're sitting in an area where homes are only $50,000 and the closing costs are $5,000, well, that's a big chunk out of the proceeds of that sale, so they might require the buyers to pay more of the closing costs. But I can speak to you for Orange County, California. I'll tell you what's very typical, and keep in mind before we get into this, all closing costs, all terms of the entire contract, everything is negotiable, so nothing is ever set in stone. Everything is negotiable. So you just have to decide what you want to allow when you are selling a home as far as closing costs. But there is like I said, regional, it is typical in certain areas that it's just done this way. And when buyers are presenting or buyer agents are presenting offers and they're explaining it to their buyers, these are probably the terms that they are putting forth. So the main closing costs involve who pays for escrow. Well, when you choose an escrow company, and again, choosing of the services is always negotiable, usually that cost in Orange County, California is split between the buyer and the seller. And the term that's used often is each pays their own or 50-50. I prefer putting each pays their own, and the reason is because sometimes the cost might be different from the seller side as it is from the buyer's side. And so if they just each pay their own costs, then they avoid having any arguments about, well, I paid more than you did or anything like that. Title insurance. There's always a title insurance policy transferred with a property, or should be transferred with a property. If there's not, then you're looking for trouble. And that cost is almost always paid for by the seller. And the reason is because they are conveying to the buyer that this house is in fact free and clear of any encumbrances or future claims of any kind. And so the seller is willing to pay that almost all the time, right? Another cost is the home warranty, and almost always the seller is willing to pay that. And the reason, so as a listing agent, I can tell you that one of the things I almost always insist is that the seller pays for that home warranty. And the reason is because, when somebody's buying a house, they expect that everything's working, or at the time of the offer, it's working and in reasonable condition, and it almost never fails. 2 days after escrow closes, the dishwasher, blows up or something like that. And so instead of having them call you and say, hey, you sold me a house that had a broken dishwasher, and now they're trying to squeeze, $500 or $800 out of you for the upgrade on the dishwasher. The home warranty would take care of that. They just call the home warranty, say, hey, it stopped working. They pay a service call fee, and they come out, they fix it or replace it, and it's done. It's something that you don't have to worry about. And I can tell you from my own experience, I've had my heater replaced. I've had my air conditioner replaced. I've had various appliances replaced over the years because I have the home warranty policy. And it's just a good thing to be able to offer to those buyers. It's a nice little incentive. As far as home inspection goes, the buyer always pays for that because it's their home inspection. They're the ones who are responsible for verifying all of the details of the property before they close that sale. And so it would be silly of them to try to buy a house where they haven't had somebody take a really good look at it. Now, if you're a buyer and you're thinking about skipping the home inspection, almost always we insist that the buyers get that home inspection. Pay that, it's usually $300, $400, $500, depending on the size of the house. But man, it is worth it because now you get to know what things need to be worked on throughout time. But mostly what we're looking for is we're looking for real safety issues. We're looking for real structural issues or major systems issues. The fact that there's some paint peeling and there's a chip tile and that sort of thing, that's all cosmetic and that comes with a used house. But when the inspector goes in and finds that there's a significant leak under the house on a raised foundation or something like that that you didn't know about, or maybe the sellers didn't know about, then it has just saved you potentially thousands and thousands of dollars. As a seller, you want to try to have those inspections done prior to putting the house on the market. We always suggest it, and I would say about a third of the sellers that we work with actually get the inspection done because they see the value in making sure that those things are disclosed up front. Hey, look, we know that there's a leak, but guess what? That's how we're selling the house. The house is being sold as is. We've disclosed it. You know about it, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, so make your offer accordingly. Now, other costs that could come into play is title and tax and that sort of, or transfer fees and that sort of thing. And usually those are paid for by the seller here in Orange County, California. But again, all closing costs are negotiable. Every single thing is negotiable. And it's just become, in our area, those are the norms. If you go into a different area, it's going to be something completely different. And they also have other things that they deal with that we don't deal with here. Okay, so it all applies. So understand that when that happens or when that comes to the end and you're trying to figure out your costs, you need to have a good net sheet. And that's something that we could make for you, of course, that will tell you, here's what your costs are, including all the commissions and everything that come along with it, so that you can say, okay, here's our bottom line. You know what to expect and you're not caught off guard. So those are majority of the costs that are involved with the sale of the property. And above and beyond that, you got to figure in your moving costs and whether you're buying another place, moving into a rental, or moving out of state, renting trucks and things like that. So factor all that stuff in. You'll have a good idea of what the sale of your house is going to cost you. And then you can make good, educated decisions. All right. Hey, Anthony Nitz here with eXp. So glad you take time to listen. And if we can answer any questions for you, just put it down in the comments. We love to answer questions all day long. I'm happy to do it anytime, any day. Only been doing this for over 20 years and can probably give you a good answer to any question you pose. Thanks so much. We'll talk to you real soon. Take care.